Hello again, this is Freedom Tower signing in. And now, for this segment, we're going to be covering the tank section overall. What the role is, what the job is, and overall, what's your purpose. So, as a tanker, primarily I always tank a lot. Your job is to act as the the muscle of your infantry. The whole point of tanking overall, is not just taking out enemy tanks, but also supporting your infantry so that way they can push. But however, each of the tanks have their different functions and as well as different anatomies. For instance, you have your light tank, very fast, very mobile, but very weak gun. You have your medium tank, overall a pretty decent tank overall, but primarily you want to use it as your infantry support tank, as well as your light tank. Your heavy tank, on the other hand, could act as your tank destroyer. These are the ones that are going to be taking out heavy tanks such as the Panther, Tiger, or other like annoying little tanks out there. And overall, as the tank commander, you are the brains of the tank. You are going to always communicate with your tank crew and let them know what's going on. It's very important that you let them know what's happening, and it's also very important to communicate with the command chat. You want command chat to always communicating with the tank crew. There's so many now. Being a tanker is amazing. You have a lot of great moments, but there's there's big drawbacks when tank. There's also drawbacks with tanking, such as for instance, right? When let's say we're being infantry support, right? We're just gonna use this as an example, right? So as infantry support, your job is basically you're gonna be with the infantry at all times. So the biggest issue that a lot of players that tank is the fact that the blueberries, which is infantry, do not really protect the tank. There are so many cases where I've been satcheled and my team is literally surrounding me all over the place. This is where they don't mark targets, such as for instance like enemy tanks overall, and they don't let us know what's going on and what's happening. So as a tank commander, you are the only one that can see other squad leaders and tank commanders marks. For instance, like if I want to put a tank mark right over here, right? Actually, I'll put it right here. If I put a tank mark over here, only myself, the tank commander, as well as other tank commanders, squad leads, recon, and command, could see. That is it. But having tank marks go a long way. You let your tankers know where the tank is going, where they're moving. As long as you give them that information, the tank squads will succeed. Now, when it comes to tanking overall, primarily I mostly drive a lot and spot. Personally, I like driving and spotting a lot, especially spotting. Spotting when you feel like you are literally the shot caller. It's really fun. So overall, as a tanker, overall, for the tank commander, it's pretty much common knowledge at this point. It is very important as the tank commander that you always want to be in the spot row. The reason for that is that A, you have a 360-degree look around the tank. So that way you know what's going on around you. And B, you don't need to interrupt whether you're gunning or driving. Just look at the map. You can just pop the map open and let your tankers know what's going on within the map. So usually when I tank, as soon as we leave spawn with a tank and there's already markers on the map, I always let my guys know what's going to be happening. So for instance, like if we have a tank here I will put an observe mark pretty much much like kind of next to the mark. So that way my gunner and driver knows, hey, we have a tank here. Here he's causing havoc. Now, overall, you are going to be telling the driver where to drive whether it's going forward, backwards, left, right, or whatever. Your gunner, you're going to be telling where to look, where to have his gun looking at, have shit. My headphones just fucking. My headphones just literally just disconnected. But anyways, as for the gunner, you're gonna let them know what's going on, what shells to load, what have the gun looking, and whatnot. But when you are a really good tank crew, a good tip to have: driver and the gunner should always be talking to each other at all times. At all times. So that way, if the gunner has a sight on a tank, he could let the driver, hey, stop the tank. I got eyes on the tank. Tank, I'm about to fire my gun. Or if the tank is moving, but the gunner is turning his turn, but he can't really get, you know, sights on him, the driver can actually help out. So if the tank is going right, tank is going right, the driver could turn right to help the gunner turn his gun a little bit faster. So keep in mind, you are a fighting machine. You are all one. You want to make sure you guys are always communicating with each other at all times. Now the big thing is, if you have a full 3-man, you will go a long way, especially if you're gonna be fucking shit up. If you're a 2-man, that's not too bad. You can actually work it in your favor, but keep in mind you're gonna be constantly switching between either driving, gunning, and spotting. Same thing as the second person. Now the big thing is, me personally, I am against solo tanking. The reason for that is because there's not really a lot of value solo tanking, like at all. I've seen matches where players would just hop on the tank commander and just lock the squad, and it'll be just them. Rather than, for instance, like players who have like a full 3-man, for instance, lock the squad and all their buddies would hop in. That's fine. Fine, I don't mind that. So solo tanking, the reason why I'm really against it, and a lot of players are actually against it as well, is because a, you're stationary target. You're not very like effective being by yourself, especially if you're in a heavy tank. When the reload time for the heavy tank is really fucking long. So it's very important to at least have bare minimum 2 and a max 3. So as tankers, you're not gonna. Sometimes, most of the time, you're gonna be spawning in HQs. Now, rule of thumb when you're tanking, this falls for like, you could pretty much say battlefield rules. Whenever your tank is about to die, you do not hop out of the tank. The only exception is, for instance, like we have a guy coming up with a satchel. The tank commander could hop out, kill him, hop back in, or could like fight for a little bit to clear the area alone. But overall, you always want to stay inside of the tank at all times. Now, when it comes to infantry support, pretty much the name. You're going to be near your infantry at all times. You are literally helping these guys out. Light tanks are really good with that because they have a fast rate of fire, and they're pretty quick, and they can act as cover for your infantry. Medium tanks as well are pretty good with that, especially the Sherman. Since the Shermans, we'll hop in and go into the gunner seat real quick to show you what I mean. So the Shermans are equipped with 3 shells. 3 shells. So overall, when you're in the gunner seat, you primarily have 2 shells, which is your AP for tanks and your HE for infantry. But for the Americans, they have 2 tanks that comes with 3 shells, which is the regular medium tank, the Sherman, as well as the jumbo 75mm. So it's very important that you use your smoke for two things. A, protect your infantry while they're advancing. For instance, like if we have a heavy defense, let's say in front of us, I just pop smoke shells just right in front of them, like boom, right? Cover, blind them completely, and our infantry could push, blinding them overall, right? It's very important to utilize your smoke shells. These fighting tanks, for instance. Like if we have a panther, right? We run across a panther. He's getting his sight on us. He whiffed his shot. You could shoot directly in front of him and blind him, and use the time to flank around him to get a kill shot. Now in this situation, the Panther squad has two options. They can either A, push through the smoke, or B, pull out of the smoke. But at that point on, if they're backing up, they have to guess where the tank is gonna be coming from. Is he gonna come from the left flank? The left? Is he coming from the right? Right? Is he gonna work his way behind us? Did he fall back? Is he charging us? Like, there's a lot of factors that comes to play. So when you're using the medium tank, it's very wise to just utilize the smoke shells. Right? Don't be afraid to use the smoke shells against other tanks to blind them, to give you the advantage to take it out. Now when it comes to the Heavy 76, it's a heavy tank overall. This is just a big boy overall. When you're in a heavy tank, you get a lot of value, but it's very imperative, in my opinion, that you stay not far back, but at least far enough so that way you don't get killed right from the start. If you ask me, light tanks and medium tanks should always be near your infantry at all times because they have the firepower and they have the utility to support the infantry. And not to forget their reloads are not too extreme, as well as your light. And your medium tank just has, for the Americans, will have smoke shells or a decent reload time, so they can literally just keep pumping HE into a fortification constantly. But for your heavy, you don't want to be There's times where you have to be in the front lines, especially if you're the only tank squad. But at the same time, you also want to keep in mind that you don't want to be too far in the front. Unfortunately, there's no recon tank here. I could be wrong. Let me check. Yeah, there's no recon tank. So, when it comes to, there's 4 vehicles for tankers to use: recon, light, medium, heavy. Now, for your recon tank overall, your recon tank, I'm gonna tell you this now, and it'll be the one and only thing I'll tell you. Use your recon tank just as you are playing as recon. Get in their back line, cause havoc, destroy enemy tanks coming into the front lines, and so on. You are literally a fucking mosquito. Be the mosquito. Annoy the shit out of them. Be a pest to them. But when it comes to the recon tank overall, it has the ability on the spotter seat, instead of like a regular telescope, it's a camera. So what this camera does it highlights enemy infantry or enemy tanks or enemy strongholds or whatnot. You take the picture that you are looking at, or you can just hold, for instance for console, you can hold the left trigger. It'll show a little white bubble, and then press the right trigger to take the picture. Once you take the picture, they illuminate on the map automatically. You get a lot of value using recon tank as its intended purpose, to be in the back line and to act as a pest with recon, as well as you're also going to be working with friendly recon that's also in the enemy back line. So for the recon tank overall, they also have 2 extra slots. These 2 extra slots are for your recon. So don't be afraid. So when you're playing as the recon team, don't be afraid to ask your tankers that's driving a recon, is about to hop on a recon tank to give you a ride to their backlines. Alright? Don't be afraid to ask. Now, each tank, when you're tanking, is very, very important to know about your tank anatomy. So if you come from games like War Thunder or World of Tanks, you exactly know what I'm talking about, right? So we're gonna use this Panther for example, right? So if we're fighting a Panther head on, right? Like if I shoot his turret, no damage. All my shots are gonna bounce from his front, lower braces, everywhere, right? But if you are a very experienced player, you know shooting the little corners of the tank could actually pen the tank. Now this is a light tank, so it pretty much your firepower is different. The only thing you can shoot is, let's say, you destroy the tracks, you pretty much just slow it down. A non-mobile tank is a dead tank. So when fighting a Panther up ahead, in the front especially, you always want to be, if your gunner is very experienced, you can literally take out a Panther from the front. This is easier said than done, because your gunner needs to know exactly where to shoot. So it takes about 3 shots to kill a Panther from the front when you're shooting at these little corners. So right there, it takes about 3 shots. You shoot these little corners, or at least underneath the gun, right about over here, and you can easily kill the tank overall. Or you could flank the tank, hitting it from the side, killing it within 3 shots. For a heavy tank, it takes 2 shots. But the thing is, when you're driving the heavy tank and you're fighting out another heavy tank, angling your armor is actually a thing. So meaning your driver needs to be set up in a position where the shells are going to keep bouncing off constantly. Now tanking is very fun. You get a lot of value, and not to forget, when it comes to tanking, you could actually change the outcome of each and every battle. Now when it comes to what loadout you should pick, for the tank commander, personally, you always want to be with the first one. The reason for that is because you're going to be pretty much straight, like, keeping AT, assaults, engineers, anything with a satchel or rocket launcher away from your tank at all times. You want to be strafing that away. The other two, which is your tank group, will always be running mechanics, which is basically they have a repair torch. They can repair the tank at any given point in time. But overall, tanking is very fun. I do recommend new players to try this out so they can understand how tanking works overall. Me personally, I started off with tanking when I first got this game. Because it helped me understand, like, how to communicate with squad, how to utilize what I have and whatnot. But overall, this is the tanking video overall. This is what you should be doing. Now, keep in mind when you're also tanking, as a command, it does need to be just the tank commander. You can also be the gunner and/or driver as well. You're always going to be popping open your map 24/7. The reason for this is because again, if you have a lot of information, especially when taking, you want to be looking at your map. So that way you have an understanding of, hey, we have a lot of infantry focus here, we have a tank here, and we have a garrison here. that information goes a long way, and it helps you guys, the tankers, a lot, because you have that information and you know what's going on, especially tank marks. As a tank commander, you always want to be harassing the squad leads and recon, but primarily your squad leads, about tanks, marking armor, marking high value targets. You always want to be harassing them. But overall, all it comes with experience. The more you start tanking and the more you play on different maps, you understand what good spot, where to go, what good spots, and so on. So keep that in mind. But overall, this is the tanking section overall. If you guys want me to make another video on Hell Let Loose, or hell, you even want to hear me rant, just please give the video a like, subscribe, and let me know what you want to see in the next video. Alright, this is Freedom Tower signing out.